Hey ladies, today we are going to be talking about Mary of Bethany. This is Martha's sister. There's a lot of different stories about her in the Bible, and it's been really cool to see the different ones at different times in our life. She was the sister of Lazarus, and Lazarus had died and was dead for like 4 days. And Jesus had loved Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, and he came and he raised Lazarus from the dead. So what a cool thing to experience, to be such a close friend to Jesus, and to be part of that circle that, he loved Lazarus to the point where he was crying at his after his death, and he raised him from the dead. And I just think, yeah, that's really cool for Lazarus. But then think about being Lazarus' sister, and experiencing that, and knowing that she didn't have her brother had passed away, and then he came back to, Jesus brought him back. And so to experience God's glory in a moment like that is something that I think would be really hard to forget. Now, we know that Mary and Martha were sisters, and this is the Mary where, Martha became irritated when she was hosting everybody at her house, which isn't a bad thing, but she became irritated because Mary was focused on something more important than the dishes or cooking or the chores. She was focused on Jesus. And I think that that's something that is different, because it's easy in life to forget about the things that Jesus has done for you. And at this moment, she hadn't forgotten God's glory. She hadn't forgotten his power. She hadn't forgotten his majesty. She hadn't forgotten those things, or else she would have been up and, not worshiping him like she was. And I'm not saying that Martha was doing, anything wrong, but her focus was different. Just like Helen had mentioned the other day, the orientation of her heart was different at that moment. Then we fast forward a little bit, and she comes in with an alabaster jar, and it's an expensive perfume. It is something that would be equivalent to a year's wages, and she was anointing Jesus before his death, before anybody else really realized it. She was anointing him for burial. She broke the jar over his head, and other people became irritated and kind of disgusted about the amount of money that was being spent. It was Judas, and he was, not focused on the things that he should have been focused on, or else he wouldn't have been worried about that. But again, I think that it comes back to the posture of her heart, to the orientation of her heart. She hadn't forgotten God's glory. She hadn't forgotten what God had done for her. And it's easy as we go through life to forget the things that God has brought us through, the trials, the tribulations, the things that we never thought would change, the things that seemed insurmountable. And I think that it's important to remember those things so that we can remember who God is. That way we don't become distracted of the things of this world and only focus on the task at hand, or focus on things that aren't important. At the end of the day, that is what is so cool about Mary, is she remembered all the time that who God is. She remembered God's power. She remembered the things that he had done for her and that he had brought her through. And I just encourage you guys to think about the things that God has done for you, and think about what he's brought you from, and remember that God is the God of the universe. He is the Alpha and Omega. He is the beginning. He is the end. And whatever it is, he is going to bring glory. But we don't need to forget who God is. And I just have really thought about Helen's message a few weeks ago about, the orientation of your heart, and keeping your heart focused on the right things and focused on God. And there's so many times where we can become focused on things that they're not necessarily bad things. But is it the thing that needs to have that focus. And I think that Mary had that focus. Yeah, very short and sweet this week, but I really enjoyed reading about her, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. Thanks.